Space Station Aurora, humanity's first deep space research facility. Main characters: Commander Sarah Chen, Station Leader; former military strategist Dr. Marcus Webb; xenobiologist and First Contact Specialist Engineer Rosa Martinez; Systems Specialist and Problem Solver Navigator Tom Harrison; Pilot and Exploration Expert. Plot summary: after 2 years of sending peaceful diplomatic messages across the galaxy, humanity receives their first response from the Cosmic Alliance, a brutal rejection labeling Earth as a Category 9 death world and humans as hazardous biological entities. The Alliance demands complete isolation, threatening military action if humans venture beyond their solar system. The crew of Aurora must decide whether to accept this verdict or forge their own path among the stars. Key events: reception of the Alliance's rejection message, discovery of the Alliance's classification system for worlds and species, learning about other rejected Deathworld species teams' decision to ignore the isolation order, planning to infiltrate Alliance Space. Part 2. The Deathworld Advantage 2000. Word setting: Kepler Station, major Alliance trading hub and diplomatic center. New characters: Ambassador Zixtel, Alliance representative, insectoid, species from Peaceful World Security Chief, Vorth Alliance, military leader. Aquatic species, various alien traders and diplomats. Plot summary: the Aurora crew arrives at Kepler Station disguised as independent traders from an unknown system. Their human biology, adapted to Earth's extreme conditions, gives them unexpected advantages in the sterile, controlled environment of Alliance space. As they navigate alien politics and prejudice, they begin to understand that the Alliance's fear of Deathworlders stems from their own weaknesses and overprotective society. Key events: infiltration of Kepler Station, encounters with various Alliance species, demonstration of human adaptability and resilience, discovery of Alliance's sheltered, fragile nature, beginning of human reputation as capable problem solvers, set up for larger conflict with Alliance authorities. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the communications bay of Space Station Aurora, staring at the holographic message that floated before her like a death sentence written in light. The alien symbols had been translated by their computer systems, but the meaning was crystal clear in any language. Humanity was not welcome among the stars. The message had taken 18 months to reach them from the nearest Alliance outpost. 18 months during which Sarah and her crew had maintained hope that their peaceful overtures would be met with curiosity, perhaps even friendship. Instead, they received bureaucratic coldness that made military court-martials seem warm by comparison. Dr. Marcus Webb approached from behind, his footsteps echoing in the sterile corridors of the station. As the team's xenobiologist and First Contact Specialist, he had spent the last 2 years learning everything possible about the various species that made up the Cosmic Alliance. His expertise in alien cultures had prepared him for many scenarios, but not for this one. "Commander, I've finished analyzing their cultural database," Marcus said, his voice heavy with disappointment. "The Alliance operates on what they call the Harmony Doctrine. Every member species must demonstrate complete, peaceful intent and biological compatibility with their existing members." Sarah turned away from the message display, her jaw set in the determined expression that had carried her through 15 years of military service. "And we failed their test. According to their classification system, Earth ranks as a Category 9 Deathworld." Marcus continued, pulling up additional data on his tablet. "The highest danger rating in their system only goes to Category 10, which is reserved for worlds where life cannot exist at all. They've labeled us as hazardous biological entities adapted to extreme survival conditions. Engineer Rosa Martinez looked up from her workstation where she had been analyzing the technical specifications, hidden within the Alliance's message. Her background in systems engineering had taught her to find solutions where others saw only problems, but even she seemed troubled by what she had discovered. The really disturbing part is how they define extreme, Rosa said, highlighting sections of data on her screen. Earth's gravity is considered deadly to most Alliance species. Our weather patterns are classified as catastrophic. Even our oxygen concentration is too high for comfortable breathing by their standards. Navigator Tom Harrison entered the communications bay carrying a steaming cup of coffee and wearing the kind of expression that usually preceded bad news. As the station's primary pilot and exploration specialist, he had been reviewing star charts and Alliance territorial boundaries since the message arrived. "It gets worse," Tom announced, settling into a chair and taking a long sip of his coffee. "I've been mapping their space using the navigational data they transmitted. The Alliance controls roughly 60% of this galactic arm. That includes every habitable system within 500 light-years of Earth." Sarah felt the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders. The Aurora station represented humanity's greatest achievement in space exploration, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Now it seemed that achievement meant nothing to the wider galaxy. They were cosmic pariahs before they had even had a chance to introduce themselves properly. "There's something else," Marcus said, his voice dropping to a more serious tone. "The Alliance database includes information about other species they've rejected. We're not the first Deathworlders to be turned away." The team gathered around Marcus as he displayed files on various rejected species. The Crenari had been denied membership because their homeworld had active volcanism and frequent seismic activity. The Vactor faced rejection due to their evolution in high radiation environments. The Geltons were considered too aggressive because they had evolved as persistence hunters. "What happened to them?" Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "Most of them disappeared into deep space," Marcus replied. "The Crenari haven't been heard from in over a century. The Vector became isolated on their homeworld and eventually stopped trying to contact anyone. The Geltons turned to piracy and raiding, confirming every prejudice the Alliance had about aggressive species." Rosa leaned back in her chair, her engineering mind already working on the problem. "So we have three choices. We can go home to Earth and report our failure. We can isolate ourselves in our own solar system and hope the Alliance leaves us alone. Or we can end up like the Geltons, branded as criminals and outcasts. There's a fourth option," Sarah said quietly, her military training asserting itself. "We can prove them wrong." Tom nearly choked on his coffee. "Commander, they specifically warned us that any human presence in Alliance space would be met with military force. Their exact words were that Deathworld species pose an unacceptable risk to galactic stability." "That's exactly my point," Sarah replied, walking over to the star charts that Tom had been studying. "They're afraid of us because they don't understand us. They see our world's dangers and assume we must be dangerous too. But what if those dangers actually made us something they need?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Sarah pointed to the Alliance territorial map, highlighting several areas marked in red. "Look at these zones. Quarantine areas, restricted systems, regions marked as too hazardous for Alliance vessels. What if our adaptation to dangerous conditions is exactly what's needed to explore those areas?" Rosa's eyes lit up with understanding. "You want to go?" Where they can't go. I want to go where they won't go, Sarah corrected. The Alliance has created a peaceful, stable civilization by avoiding anything they consider dangerous. But the galaxy is full of dangerous things. Pulsars, black holes, unstable systems, hostile environments. They've built their society by staying in the safe zones. Tom studied the charts with new interest. The trade routes, the colony systems, the major settlements, they're all in the most stable, predictable regions of space. It's like they've built their entire civilization in a cosmic suburb. Exactly, Sarah said. And we're from the cosmic inner city. We know how to handle chaos, adapt to hostile conditions, and solve problems that can't be fixed by committee meetings and peaceful negotiations. Marcus was scrolling through more Alliance data, his expression growing more thoughtful. Their own records show increasing problems with space pirates operating in the quarantine zones. There are also reports of strange phenomena in restricted systems that they can't investigate safely. They have plenty of problems they can't solve with their current approach. So we don't ask for permission, Rosa said, her voice gaining confidence. We show up, we solve their problems, and we make ourselves indispensable. Tom set down his coffee cup and walked over to the navigation console. Kepler Station is their major trading hub in this sector. It's also close to 3 different quarantine zones that have been giving them trouble. If we're going to make an impression, that's where we need to be. Sarah looked at each member of her team. These were some of Earth's finest minds, volunteers who had left everything behind to carry humanity's hopes to the stars. She was asking them to risk not just their lives, but their freedom and potentially the future of human space exploration. I need to be clear about what I'm proposing, Sarah said, her command voice carrying the weight of absolute honesty. This isn't a sanctioned mission. Earth's command expected us to establish diplomatic relations, not start an interstellar incident. If we do this, we're on our own. We've been on our own since we left Earth orbit, Marcus replied. The only difference is now we know it officially. Rosa was already pulling up technical specifications for the Aurora's systems. We'll need to modify our identification transponders and create false documentation. The Alliance database includes enough information about independent traders that we can blend in, at least initially. Tom nodded in agreement. The Aurora isn't built like Alliance vessels. We might be able to pass for an unknown species from outside their territory, as long as no one gets too close a look at us. Sarah felt the familiar surge of determination that had carried her through her military career. The Alliance had made their position clear, but they had also underestimated what humans could accomplish when they were told something was impossible. All right then, she said, moving to the center of the communications bay. We're no longer the Aurora, Earth's first diplomatic mission to the Alliance. We're now the independent trading vessel Defiance, registered to the Outer Rim Collective, whatever that is. Rosa, I need you to start working on our new identity systems. Already on it, Commander, Rosa replied, her fingers flying across her console. Marcus, I want you to study everything we know about Kepler Station. Who trades there, what they need, what they fear. We need to understand their economy and their weaknesses. Understood, Marcus said, diving back into the Alliance databases. Tom, plot us a course to Kepler Station, but make it look like we're coming from outside Alliance space. We need to approach from an angle that supports our cover story. Give me 6 hours, and I'll have us a route that looks like we've been traveling for months, Tom confirmed. Fear. Sarah took one last look at the rejection message still floating in the holographic display. The Alliance had judged humanity without ever meeting them, had condemned an entire species based on prejudice and fear. They were about to learn that humans didn't accept rejection quietly. "Send a message to Earth Command," Sarah ordered. "Tell them we've made contact with the Alliance and are proceeding with extended cultural exchange protocols. Don't mention the rejection. They'll find out soon enough what we've decided to do about it." The bridge fell silent for a moment as the magnitude of their decision settled over the crew. They were about to venture into unknown space, surrounded by aliens who considered them dangerous monsters, with nothing but their wits and their determination to see them through. "One more thing," Sarah added, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "If we're going to be branded as Deathworlders, we might as well live up to the reputation. But we're going to show them that being dangerous and being evil are two completely different things." 3 weeks later, the ship, now known as Defiance, approached Kepler Station through the controlled shipping lanes that regulated all traffic in Alliance space. The massive structure hung in the void like a crystalline flower, its transparent sections gleaming with the light of the system's twin stars. Ships of dozens of different designs docked and departed in carefully choreographed patterns that spoke of centuries of peaceful trade and cooperation. Commander Sarah Chen studied the station through the viewport of what had once been the Aurora's bridge. The Alliance's architectural philosophy was immediately apparent in every line and curve of the structure. Everything was smooth, rounded, designed to avoid any suggestion of threat or aggression. Even the docking bays looked more like petals than mechanical apertures. "Incoming transmission from station control," Tom Harrison reported from his navigation console. "They're requesting our registration codes and cargo manifest." "Send them the documentation Rosa prepared," Sarah replied, maintaining her calm. Commander's demeanor, while her heart raced with anticipation. This was the moment of truth. Either their false identity would hold up under scrutiny, or their mission would end before it truly began. Dr. Marcus Webb monitored the communication, CHANNELS, listening to the casual chatter between various ships and the station. His weeks of study had given him insight into Alliance culture that went far beyond their official databases. The aliens spoke with the casual confidence of people who had never faced real danger, never been forced to make life or death decisions. In split seconds, "They're buying it," Rosa Martinez announced from her engineering station. "Station control has assigned us docking bay 7. Standard merchant protocols, no special security measures." The Defiance maneuvered through the approach pattern with careful precision. Tom had studied Alliance flight characteristics extensively, noting how their ships moved with smooth, predictable patterns that prioritized passenger comfort over maneuverability. He made sure to match their sedate pace, suppressing every instinct that told him to fly with the aggressive efficiency that characterized human piloting. As they drew closer to the station, the crew got their first real look at Alliance citizens through the transparent sections of the docking areas. The beings they saw were diverse in appearance, but uniform in their body language. They moved with the unhurried grace of people who had never needed to run from predators, never faced environmental emergencies, never been forced to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. "Look at their architecture," Marcus observed, highlighting structural details on his scanner readings. "Everything is designed for perfect environmental control. No emergency systems, no redundant safety measures, no accommodation for unexpected problems." Sarah nodded, understanding the implications immediately. They've created a civilization based on the assumption that nothing will ever go wrong. The docking procedure proceeded with the ritualistic precision that characterized all Alliance activities, multiple safety checks, environmental scans, bureaucratic protocols that seemed designed more for comfort than efficiency. Sarah found herself comparing it to military operations, where speed and adaptability were paramount. The Alliance approach would have gotten her entire unit killed in any combat situation she had ever faced. Docking complete, Tom reported. Station atmosphere is compatible, but the gravity is set to what they call standard, about 60% of Earth normal. Perfect, Sarah said with grim satisfaction. Rosa, make sure our environmental suits are configured to look like standard. Merchant gear. Marcus, remember that we're traders from the Outer Rim Collective, whatever that is. Our story is that we've been traveling for months looking for new markets. The crew made their way to the station's main commercial district through corridors that seemed designed more for aesthetic appeal than practical function. The walls curved in organic patterns, the lighting was soft and diffused, and the air carried the scent of growing things rather than the recycled atmosphere of most space stations. Their first encounter with Alliance citizens came in the central marketplace, a vast chamber filled with vendors from dozens of different worlds. Sarah had expected to feel like an outsider among the various alien species, but instead she found herself noticing how similar they all were in their fundamental approach to life. Ambassador Zixtel of the Kepler Commercial Authority approached, their group with the measured steps of someone who had never needed to hurry anywhere. The insectoid being stood nearly 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the station's soft lighting. According to Marcus's research, Zixtel species had evolved on a world where the most dangerous predator was roughly equivalent to Earth's rabbits. Welcome to Kepler Station, Zixtel said, in the melodious tones that characterized Alliance. Standard language. I am Ambassador Zixtel, representative of the Commercial Authority. We understand you are traders from the Outer Rim, seeking new opportunities. Sarah stepped forward, grateful for the weeks she had spent practicing Alliance social protocols. I am Captain Sarah of the merchant vessel Defiance. We represent the Outer Rim Collective and seek to establish trade relationships with Alliance. Merchants, Zixtel's compound eyes studied the human crew with what seemed like casual interest rather than suspicion. The Outer Rim Collective is not familiar to me. Your species is also unknown to our databases. Perhaps you could provide some background on your people and your trade specialties. Marcus had prepared for this question extensively. We are from a cluster of systems beyond the Barrier Nebula. Our worlds are rich in rare minerals and exotic materials, but we have limited manufacturing capability. We seek to trade raw materials for finished goods and advanced technology. Fascinating, Zixtel replied, though the tone suggested polite interest rather than genuine excitement. And what brings you to our territory rather than seeking trade with the independent systems? Sarah sensed an opportunity in the question. We've heard that the Alliance maintains the highest standards of quality and reliability in this region. Our collective values, stability, and peaceful cooperation above all else. The answer seemed to please Zixtel, who gestured for them to follow. Indeed, the Alliance has maintained peace and prosperity for over 3 centuries. Perhaps you would like a tour of our facilities while your vessel undergoes standard safety inspections. As they walked through the station's commercial areas, Sarah began to understand the true nature of the Alliance's weakness. Every system was designed with multiple redundancies and safety measures, but none of them were designed to handle actual emergencies. The beings they encountered moved with the confidence of people who had never faced real danger, but Sarah recognized it as the confidence of inexperience rather than competence. The tour led them to the station's security center, where security Chief Vorth monitored the various activities throughout Kepler Station. The aquatic being floated in a specialized mobility tank that allowed him to move through the station's corridors while maintaining the water environment his species required. His homeworld, according to Marcus's research, was a vast ocean planet where the most significant geological activity was gentle tidal shifts. "Your vessel is quite unusual," Vorth observed, studying technical readouts on his displays. "The structural reinforcement patterns are unlike anything in our database. Your hull seems designed to withstand tremendous stresses." Tom had prepared for this observation. "Our home systems include several areas of space with unusual gravitational effects. Our ships must be built to handle conditions that most vessels never encounter." "Fascinating," Vorth replied, though, like Sixtall, his tone suggested academic interest rather than concern. "We have several restricted zones in our territory with similar conditions, areas too dangerous for standard Alliance vessels to explore safely." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. This was exactly the opening she had hoped for. What kind of conditions? Unstable stellar phenomena, gravitational anomalies, regions with high radiation or exotic matter concentrations, Vorth explained. "The Alliance maintains quarantine boundaries around such areas for the safety of our citizens and commerce." "Of course," Sarah replied carefully. "Safety must always be the primary concern." But she was already thinking about the opportunities those quarantine zones represented. Areas too dangerous for Alliance vessels, but potentially accessible. 2 ships built with Earth's harsh environmental standards in mind. Problems that required solutions the Alliance couldn't provide with their current approach. The tour continued through the station's research facilities, where Alliance scientists studied the various phenomena they couldn't directly investigate. Sarah noticed that their scientific method emphasized theoretical modeling and remote observation over hands-on experimentation. It was thorough and careful, but it was also slow and limited in scope. Dr. Marcus Webb found himself in conversation with several A-Lines researchers about xenobiology and stellar phenomena. Their knowledge was extensive but entirely theoretical. They had detailed models of stellar collapse, gravitational effects, and radiation exposure, but no practical experience dealing with such conditions. It was like reading about swimming without ever having been in water. "Your species seems remarkably adaptable," one of the researchers observed. "Your physiological readings suggest you could survive in environments that would be lethal to most Alliance citizens." Marcus chose his words carefully. "Evolution shaped us for challenging conditions. Our homeworld required significant adaptation to survive and thrive. How fortunate that you evolved in such benign circumstances," the researcher replied, completely misunderstanding the implications. "Most of us would find such challenges terrifying." Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. The Alliance researchers had just revealed something crucial about their entire civilization. They weren't just physically adapted to safe environments. They were psychologically unprepared for danger and uncertainty. They had built their entire society around avoiding the kinds of challenges that humans faced routinely. The realization gave Sarah a new understanding of why the Alliance had rejected humanity so completely. It wasn't just fear of human capabilities, it was fear of what humans represented. A species that thrived on challenges, adapted to danger, and solved problems through direct action rather than careful committee deliberation. As the tour concluded, Ambassador Zixtel extended an invitation for the human crew to attend a formal reception that evening. It will be an excellent opportunity to meet potential trading partners and establish the relationships necessary for successful commerce. Sarah accepted the invitation, while her mind raced with possibilities. The reception would give them access to Alliance leadership, allowing them to better understand the political and economic structures they were dealing with. More importantly, it would give them opportunities to demonstrate human capabilities in subtle ways that might change Alliance. Perceptions. One question, Ambassador, Sarah said, as they prepared to return to their ship. The quarantine zones that Security Chief Vorth mentioned. Are there any current issues in those areas that affect Alliance operations? Zixtel's compound eyes shifted, in what Marcus recognized as a gesture of mild distress. Unfortunately, yes. We've been experiencing increasing problems with raiders operating from within the Gamma quarantine zone. Their attacks on our shipping lanes have become quite concerning, but Alliance vessels cannot safely pursue them into the quarantined region. Pirates taking advantage of areas you can't patrol, Tom observed. That must be frustrating. Indeed, Zixtel replied. The commercial authority has been forced to reroute several major shipping lanes, resulting in significant delays and increased costs. We've requested military assistance, but Alliance Command considers the quarantine zones too dangerous for standard operations. Sarah nodded sympathetically while internally calculating the implications. The Alliance had a problem they couldn't solve with their current capabilities, and that problem was costing them time and money. It was exactly the kind of situation where human adaptability and willingness to take risks could prove invaluable. Perhaps we'll have an opportunity to discuss trade possibilities at tonight's reception, Sarah suggested. Our collective has experience dealing with challenging operational environments. As the human crew returned to their ship, each of them was processing what they had learned about Alliance society and its limitations. They had expected to find an advanced civilization that had rejected humanity out of strength and confidence. Instead, they had discovered a society built on avoiding challenges and eliminating risks. The Alliance wasn't stronger than humanity. They were simply adapted to a different kind of existence. They had created peace and prosperity by staying within carefully controlled boundaries. But those same boundaries limited their ability to deal with anything outside their experience. Tonight's reception is going to be interesting, Marcus observed as they entered their ship's docking bay. Tonight's reception is going to be our real first contact, Sarah corrected. Everything up to now has just been reconnaissance. Tonight we start showing them what humans can really do. Rosa was already analyzing the technical data they had gathered about the station's systems and the quarantine zones. Commander, if we can solve their piracy problem, it would demonstrate our value in ways that no amount of diplomatic talking could achieve. Exactly, Sarah replied. The Alliance rejected us because they thought we were dangerous.